I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaint, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint.
Well, it's still getting messier and messier in the It Ends With Us feud between co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
All right, let's dive into something that's got everyone talking. Picture this, a behind-the-scenes drama so juicy it could give any Hollywood script a run for its money. We're talking about Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and a tangled web of allegations, power plays, and secret footage that's got the internet buzzing. If you thought the headlines about these two were wild, just wait. What we're out to break down will leave you wondering who's really pulling the strings and what's actually going on. Let's peel back the layers of this Hollywood feud and see how a seemingly collaborative project turned into an all-out battlefield. So here's the setup. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were teaming up for a film adaptation of a mega hit book. On the surface, it seemed like a match made in film heaven. Two major celebrities collaborating on adventure enthusiasts were eager to witness. But behind the scenes, things were far from perfect. At first, everything looked like smooth sailing. They worked together for nearly 2 years, sharing laughs, creative ideas, and what seemed to be mutual respect. But then came the break. Whatever happened during that pause in production, it changed everything. And when they came back, the vibe was completely different. Suddenly, Blake was making demands, tensions were skyrocketing, and Justin found himself caught in the middle of a storm he never saw coming.
You're not kidding when you say this is getting messier. The author of that book deleting her Instagram account, another who plays Baldoni's sister in the film, being harassed online for siding with...
Now, let's talk about one of the biggest bombshells in this whole mess. Blake reportedly decided she wasn't content just starring in the film. She wanted to control it. According to insiders, she wasn't just giving input here and there. She wanted to step into the role of producer, even though there was already a team of professionals hired for the job. Imagine walking into a room of experts and saying, "Yeah, thanks for your hard work, but I think I'll take it from here." That's basically what Blake did. And while some might call it ambition, others saw it as crossing a line. For Justin, who'd spent years developing the project and was not only the co-star, but also the director, this move was a slap in the face. But instead of shutting her down, he tried to play nice. He gave her room to contribute, hoping to keep the peace. Little did he know, this would only be the beginning of the chaos.
And one of the most significant allegations in Baldoni's lawsuit is that Lively sought to gain control over the editing process of the film. This is important.
And here's where it gets even messier. Blake didn't just want creative control. She allegedly started leveraging her connections to get her way. And we're not talking about small-time favors here. We're talking about pulling in her list network, including her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and her best friend, Taylor Swift, to put pressure on Justin and the studio. The rumor mill has it that Blake's strategy was essentially, give me what I want, or lose the support of my fan base and my powerful friends. And let's be real, when someone like Taylor Swift steps into a room, people notice. But here's the kicker. This big power play didn't exactly go as planned. Instead of bending to her will, Justin and Sony Pictures reportedly stood their ground. And that's when things really started to unravel.
Now you have two sides here, right? So Baldoni says this was all an effort to hijack the film to get her way. Lively claims she was the victim of harassment in a hostile work environment.
Think about it. This was a movie that had been in development for years, with Justin pouring his heart and soul into it. He wasn't just another actor on set. This was his baby. So when Blake started making changes and throwing her weight around, it wasn't just frustrating, it was personal. But Justin, ever the professional, kept his cool, even when tensions boiled over and Ryan Reynolds allegedly confronted him about a completely unrelated issue. Justin tried to stay above the fray. But according to sources, it became clear that Blake wasn't just playing hardball. She was rewriting the rules of the game entirely.
The team has denied all of these allegations. They have responded to this filing, this lawsuit, saying,
The drama hit a fever pitch when Blake reportedly demanded access to the raw footage of the film. Now, for those who don't know, this is highly unusual. Actors don't typically get to see the raw cuts before they're edited. It's not how the industry works. But Blake wasn't taking no for an answer. When Justin told her she'd have to wait until the editing team had something more polished to show her, she allegedly ran straight to her husband and her lawyers. And just like that, Justin found himself locked out of his own project.
She also provided a cease and desist letter, asking them to cease, quote, all unlawful conduct, namely what they alleged is the, quote, harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against.
Now, let's pause for a moment to talk about Colleen Hoover, the author of the book the movie is based on. She's a key player in the saga, and her role is nothing short of baffling. At first, Colleen was firmly in Justin's corner. She was the one who handpicked him for the project, saying she trusted him to bring her story to life. They worked closely together on the script, and by all accounts, their collaboration was a success. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, Colleen switched sides. After Blake's lawsuit hit the headlines, Colleen posted on social media, throwing her support behind Blake and leaving Justin completely blindsided. So what changed? Was this a calculated move to align herself with the more influential star, or was there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? Either way, her sudden shift added another layer of drama to an already explosive situation.
She also provided a cease and desist letter, asking them to cease, quote, all unlawful conduct, namely what they alleged is the, quote, harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against Miss Lively.
And speaking of explosive, let's not forget about that leaked footage. When Blake accused Justin of inappropriate behavior during a romantic scene, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. But then Justin's legal team released unedited clips that told a very different story. In the footage, you can see Blake and Justin in character, rehearsing and discussing the scene in a professional manner. There's laughter, casual banter, and not a single hint of the predatory behavior Blake described in her lawsuit. In fact, Blake herself can be heard making suggestions to make the scene more romantic, which completely contradicts her later claims. It's enough to make you wonder, was this all part of a larger strategy to push Justin out and take full control of the film?
There he is, creepy Baldoni, getting close to her, obviously making small chatter not in character so as not to make the scene, which didn't require dialogue, awkward.
But here's where things get even more tangled. As if the allegations and counterclaims weren't enough, Blake reportedly started using her superstar connections to turn the tide in her favor. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations is that Taylor Swift, who had no official role in the production, allegedly showed up at a meeting between Blake, Ryan, and Justin. Justin later claimed that Taylor's presence felt like an intimidation tactic, as if to say, you're not just dealing with me, you're dealing with us. And if that wasn't enough, Blake even compared herself to a certain dragon queen from a popular fantasy series, referring to Ryan and Taylor as her dragons. Talk about dramatic.
Literally, I'm just asking the question, like, how are women allowed to do this, to take something and to make it sound like you survived because that's what it sounded like to the public.
And yet, for all the chaos, Justin continued to take the high road, or at least tried to. Even after being locked out of the editing process and essentially sidelined from his own movie, he showed up to the premiere, smiling for the cameras and doing his best to keep things professional. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. According to sources, Justin was treated like a guest at his own event, with Blake and her team controlling every aspect of the night. It was the ultimate power move, and one that left Justin feeling humiliated after years of hard work. So, where does that leave us? On one side, you have Blake, who's been accused of manipulating the narrative and using her influence to take over the project. On the other, you have Justin, who insists he's been unfairly targeted and is fighting to clear his name. And in the middle of it all, you have a web of conflicting stories, leaked footage, and high-stakes lawsuits that show no signs of slowing down. But if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that this drama is far from over.
And he says, like, look, this is just, Hollywood is based on pure fear, cultivated by both of them, and they're very powerful.
The feud between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is one of those stories that manages to feel like both a Hollywood scandal and a chess match. Every move seems calculated, every accusation designed to land with maximum impact. And if you thought the drama ended with Blake locking Justin out of his own project, think again. This next chapter takes things to a whole new level, with Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, and even leaked footage playing starring roles in a saga that feels too wild to be real.
But yeah, it's just getting super nasty, and it seems like he's not cowering to this attempted gag order.
Yeah, I don't really understand Blake Lively's point.
Let's start with Taylor Swift, one of the biggest names in the world and someone who seems to have been dragged into this drama against her will. According to insiders, Taylor never wanted to get involved in the first place. She was reportedly just stopping by Blake and Ryan's penthouse for a casual visit, completely unaware that a heated meeting about the film was still going on. Imagine walking into what you think is going to be a laid-back hangout, only to find yourself smack in the middle of a professional meltdown. That's exactly what happened to Taylor, and she wasn't happy about it. In fact, sources close to her claim she felt used, like her presence was being leveraged as a way to intimidate Justin into agreeing to Blake's demands. And let's not forget Blake's now infamous text where she compared herself to a certain dragon riding queen, calling Taylor and Ryan her dragons. Taylor, who is known for carefully curating her image, reportedly found this whole ordeal uncool and unnecessary. She's since taken a step back from her friendship with Blake, at least for the time being. And honestly, who could blame her?
This tool of a lawsuit or whatever to get it into the public atmosphere, and now you're not going to allow me the chance to respond in the same avenue?
But Taylor isn't the only big name caught in the crossfire. Ryan Reynolds, Blake's husband, has been deeply involved from the start. According to those close to the production, Ryan wasn't just playing the role of supportive spouse. He was actively contributing to the film. Multiple sources have claimed that Ryan helped rewrite key scenes, offering suggestions and even penning dialogue. While this might sound like a collaborative effort, it's worth noting that this level of involvement from an actor's spouse is almost unheard of in Hollywood. It's one thing to share ideas casually. It's another to essentially act as an unofficial co-writer. And while Blake and Ryan might have thought they were improving the film, their constant changes reportedly caused chaos on set, with the original script being rewritten so often that the cast and crew struggled to keep up. Now, here's where things get even stickier. One of the biggest points of contention between Blake and Justin reportedly revolved around a rooftop scene, a pivotal moment in the film. Blake had completely reworked the scene, and Ryan was all in on her version. When Dustin was invited to their penthouse to discuss it, he might have thought it was going to be a productive conversation. Instead, it turned into what some insiders have described as an ambush. Ryan allegedly praised Blake's version of the scene to the point of putting Justin on the defensive, while Taylor's unexpected arrival added an extra layer of pressure. And this wasn't just about creative differences. It was about power. By bringing in Taylor and positioning her as part of Team Blake, the message was clear. Blake wasn't just an actress on this project. She was a force to be reckoned with.
Explained that when Lively had filed her complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, she provided a copy of that to the defendants, meaning defendants like Justin Baldoni.
But Justin wasn't about to back down. Despite the mounting pressure, he reportedly stood his ground, insisting that they stick to the version of the scene that had been agreed upon during pre-production. And that's when things took an even darker turn. According to leaked text messages, Blake allegedly threatened to walk away from the project unless her version of the scene was used. And she didn't stop there. She reportedly hinted that if Justin didn't comply, she would go public with allegations that would tarnish his reputation. Some sources have even suggested that this was the moment the seeds of her lawsuit were planted, a strategic move to gain control of the narrative before the film's release.
They say Friedman may even be violating the New York rules of professional conduct for lawyers by doing all this. Quote, his conduct threatens to and will materially prejudice both the Lively case and the Wayfarer case by tainting the jury pool because his statements are deliberately aimed at undermining the character, credibility, and reputation of numerous relevant parties.
Now, let's talk about that lawsuit. When Blake filed her complaint, it was a bombshell. The allegations were serious, and the timing couldn't have been worse for Justin, who was gearing up for the film's premiere. But what's interesting is how the lawsuit has been framed by both sides. Blake's team has painted her as a victim, someone who was brave enough to speak out against inappropriate behavior despite knowing it could hurt her career. Justin's team, on the other hand, has accused Blake of weaponizing the lawsuit to distract from her own actions and shift the focus away from the behind-the-scenes drama. And here's the thing, both narratives have their supporters. On social media, fans are divided, with some rallying behind Blake and others accusing her of using her celebrity status to manipulate the situation.
And that also, they say, includes us responding in the public to the montage dancing video that we put out. Why? Because, quote, the Lively Party's counsel publicly described the contents of video footage relating to Miss Lively's allegations as damning. Their statement continued, any woman who's been inappropriately touched in the workplace will recognize Miss Lively's discomfort.
One of the most contentious pieces of evidence in this case is the leaked footage from the set. If you've been following this story, you've probably heard about the slow dance scene that's at the center of Blake's allegations. She claims that Justin crossed the line during this scene, improvising actions that made her uncomfortable. But when Justin's legal team released unedited footage of the scene, it told a very different story. In the clips, you can see Blake and Justin in character, rehearsing and discussing the scene in what appears to be a professional manner. There's laughter, casual conversation, and not a single moment that seems out of place for a film set. In fact, Blake herself can be heard suggesting changes to make the scene more romantic, something that doesn't exactly align with her claims of discomfort. And yet, Blake's team insists that the footage supports her allegations, arguing that her body language and tone reveal her unease. It's a classic case of he said, she said, with both sides using the same piece of evidence to back up their arguments.
New video released by lawyers for actor Justin Baldoni showed unedited footage from the filming of It Ends With Us.
But the drama doesn't stop there. In addition to the footage, Justin's team has hinted that they have even more evidence that could turn the tide in his favor. Word on the street is that they're planning to launch a website dedicated to the case, complete with text messages, emails, and additional video clips. If this happens, it could blow the case wide open, giving the public a behind-the-scenes look at a feud that's already become one of Hollywood's most talked-about scandals. And let's not forget, the court of public opinion can be just as influential as an actual courtroom, especially when it comes to high-profile cases like this.
They believe that it's a continuation of the smear campaign that Blake initially claims happened while they were promoting the film.
Meanwhile, Blake's team is pushing for a gag order to prevent Justin and his lawyer from sharing any more evidence with the media. They argue that these leaks are an attempt to manipulate the narrative and taint the jury pool. But Justin's team has fired back, claiming that they have every right to defend him against what they see as a smear campaign. It's a legal tug of war that shows no signs of slowing down, and both sides are digging in their heels.
Shutting down a woman's claims.
She is claiming that there was harassment. He's saying none of it is true, never happened, never did.
As this Hollywood feud continues to unfold, it's clear that the drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is far from over. With allegations flying, leaked footage, and high-stakes lawsuits, this story has more twists and turns than a blockbuster thriller. But what do you think? Was Blake's power play a strategic move to gain control, or did she genuinely feel wronged? And how do you think Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds' involvement will impact the outcome? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take on this celebrity showdown. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more juicy Hollywood gossip. Until next time, stay tuned.